Now we're in James chapter 3 verse 7. Reading from the King James Bible, quote, "For every kind of beast, and of birds, and of serpents, and of things in the sea is tamed, and hath been tamed of mankind," unquote. Let's read the Young's Literal Translation, quote, "For every nature, both of beasts and of fowls, both of creeping things and things of the sea, is subdued and has been subdued by the human nature," unquote. I don't see any reason to go any further with this as far as reading other Bibles on this. It seems to be pretty plain. So let's parse it out in the Greek. For every kind of beast. Let's look at the Greek word that was used for the beast. It's used in the New Testament twice. Once by James here in this verse, and once by Paul later in 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 39 in the King James Bible, quote, "All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds," unquote. So let's continue on. "And of birds, and of serpents, and of things in the sea." Let's take a look at the Greek word that was used for "of things of the sea." That was used by James only once in the King James Version. And it continues on. "Is tamed." Let's parse that out. That's in the present tense, passive voice, indicative mood. So remember that the present tense represents a simple statement of fact or reality viewed as occurring in actual time. It's passive voice, and it represents the subject as being the recipient of the action. And it's an indicative mood, which is a simple statement of fact. If an action really occurs or has occurred or will occur, it will be rendered in the indicative mood. Is tamed, continuing, and hath been tamed. Let's parse that out. Perfect tense, passive voice, indicative mood. So that means that this corresponds to the perfect tense in English, describes an action which is viewed as having been completed in the past once and for all and needs not be repeated. Passive voice represents the subject as being the recipient of the action. An indicative mood, which is a simple statement of fact, has been tamed of mankind. Now, let's go into John Gill's commentary on the Bible on James chapter 3 verse 7. Quote, "For every kind of beast and of birds," unquote, "of the nature of them as it is in the Greek text, however fierce as beasts of prey are, or shy as the fowls of the air be," quote, "and of serpents and things in the sea," unquote, "the fishes there," quote, "is tamed and hath been tamed of mankind," unquote, or by human nature, by the wit and industry of man, by the various ways, means, and methods devised by man. So Pliny relates that the elephants, lions, and tigers among the beasts, and the eagles among the birds, and crocodiles, asps, and the serpents, and the fishes of the seas have been tamed, though some think this is only to be understood of their being mastered and subdued by one means or another, or of their being despoiled of their power or of their poison, and the Syriac and Ethiopic versions renders it, quote, "subject to human nature," unquote. Now this ends John Gill's commentary on James chapter 3 verse 7. When you're looking at your verses and you're studying them, if it can be rendered literally, it should be. Otherwise, you have to look at other meanings. In this case, this is pretty simple, pretty much there. And it's being used by James as an illustration, for he has been talking about the evil of the tongue and that it needs to be controlled. And he will continue so in the next verse in James 3:8. So may God bless you as you continue studying the Word of God.